The weekly Podioplex will begin after this short podcasting promotional.
Hi, I'm Keith R. A. DeCandido, international best-selling and award-winning author of over 40 novels, as well as comic books, short stories, novellas, and more. I'm also an editor, currently hiring out through Creditorial, a musician, currently percussionist for the Boogie Nights, and a whole lot more. Hear me talk about my writing and my life, and also do readings from my work on my twice-monthly podcast, Dead Kitchen Radio, part of the Chronic Rift Network. For more information, go to chronicrift.com or to deadkitchenradio.mevio.com.
Come ahead! Quiet on the set!
This is Michael Faulkner, and it's showtime at the March 13th, 2012 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you by the Chronic Rift. Kicking things off with the box office report, this weekend's rundown begins with number 10, and Journey to the Mysterious Island, down 4 from 6th. In 9th is This Means War, down 1 from 8th. At number 8 is The Vow, down 1 from 7th. In 7th place is Safe House, down 3 from 4th. And in 6th place is new release 1,000 Words, premiering with $6.2 million, and joining Meet Dave with $5.25 million, and Imagine That with $5.5 million in the Eddie Murphy flop category. At 5th, we have new release Silent House, starting its run with $6.7 million. That's less than half of the opening of The Last House on the Left with $14.1 million, and about half of the co-director's Open Water with $11.4 million. In 4th place is Act of Valor, taking in $7 million for a new total of $56.1 million. In 3rd place is last week's runner-up, Project X, adding $11.1 million to a total of $39.7 million. In 2nd is new release John Carter, premiering with $30.2 million. That's lower than pretty much any similar movie. It was way off from 300, which had $70.9 million, and Watchmen with $55.2 million. It was also just below 10,000 BC with $35.9 million, and Battle Los Angeles at $35.6 million, both of which were modest flicks in comparison. Among past Disney franchise attempts, John Carter doesn't match up. 2003's Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, debuted to $46.6 million, or adjusted for inflation, is the equivalent of over $60 million. Tron Legacy opened to $44 million in December, which is typically a slow month. But it did beat Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, at $30.1 million, but John Carter's attendance numbers were lower. Holding the number 1 spot this week is Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, adding in $38.8 million to a total of $121.7 million. It has now surpassed The Vow to become the top-grossing movie of 2012. Closing out the box office report, let's take a look at what was winning in the box office in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2007, 300 was still tops with $32.9 million. 10 years ago in 2002, Ice Age premiered with $46.3 million. Ice Age broke Liar Liar's record of $31.4 million to the highest weekend debut in March. Looking back on this one, I know exactly what sold me on Ice Age. It was that teaser with the prehistoric squirrel Scrat chasing an acorn, which I watched multiple times while laughing myself to tears. 20 years ago in 1992 was Wayne's World with $8.4 million. 30 years ago in 1982, the number 1 film was Porky's with $7.6 million. And 40 years ago in 1972, What's Up, Doc? Was number 1 with $4.3 million. The week of March 16th makes round 2 in the attempt to beat back The Lorax, and it starts with 21 Jump Street, an action comedy film starring Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum, and Ice Cube.
Not so Slim Shady. What's up, dude?
I haven't seen you since high school.
Hey, titty twister.
Stop! Oh! You're good at this, huh?
Yeah.
Test results, gentlemen.
Such. Oh, you're really good at this.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to be friends?
Yeah, dude.
You're ready for a lifetime of being badasses.
Oh, I am.
I thought this job would have more car chases and explosions.
You're dead.
Yours isn't loaded, right?
Nah, that's no fun.
What's up, Chief?
Got our first bust.
I got him! Yes! Yes!
You forgot to read him his Miranda rights. Do you even know the Miranda rights?
Look, it obviously starts with, do you have the right to remain an attorney?
Did you say you have the right to be an attorney?
You do have the right to be an attorney if you want to.
We're reviving a canceled undercover program from the 80s.
Where do we report to?
Down on Jump Street, 21 Jump Street.
You are here because you some Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus looking mothers. You will be going in as undercover high school students.
You have exceptional muscle tone there, young man. When'd you go through puberty? Like at 7 or something?
There's a new synthetic drug at Sagan High. The mission is find a supplier.
I think the dealers are the popular kids.
We should throw a party. That would be the quickest way to get in with them.
Come on, let's go.
Don't give nobody no drugs, no alcohol.
I promise you we'll be super professional.
All I do is party. Take it here so I know you're cool. Have fun.
Are you guys on drugs? I don't like that. Put your tongue back in your mouth.
A lot of things that made me wonder about you. Your taste in music. The fact that you look like a 40-year-old man.
Let me check out your chest. Check out your test.
After what you pulled yesterday, there's no way you could be cuffed, right?
Will you go to prom with me? That was crazy! Oh, when did I get stabbed? That's awesome! Yeah! Why do you always jump across the car like that?
Because it looks cool. You try. You okay?
I think I crapped my pants.
In this film, based on an 80s television series, a pair of underachieving cops are sent back to a local high school to blend in and bring down a synthetic drug ring. 21 Jump Street is rated R. The other wide release coming this week is Casa de Mi Padre, a comedy starring Will Ferrell, Gael Garcia Bernal, and Diego Luna. Scheming on a way to save their father's ranch, the Alvarez brothers find themselves in a war with Mexico's most feared drug lord. Casa de Mi Padre is rated R. This week also brings 5 titles to limited release. We begin with Jeff, Who Lives at Home, a comedy starring Jason Segel, Ed Helms, and Judy Greer. Dispatched from his basement room on an errand for his mother, slacker Jeff might discover his destiny when he spends the day with his brother as he tracks down his possibly adulterous wife. Jeff, Who Lives at Home is rated R. Next we have Detachment, a drama starring Adrian Brody, Christina Hendricks, and Marcia Gay Harden. A substitute teacher who drifts from classroom to classroom finds a connection to the students and teachers during his latest assignment. Detachment is not rated and opens in New York City. Next is The Kid with a Bike, a drama starring Thomas Doré, Cecile de France, and Jeremy Reiner. Abandoned by his father, a young boy is left in a state-run youth farm. In a random act of kindness, the town hairdresser agrees to foster him on weekends. The Kid with a Bike is not rated and opens in New York City. Next on our list is The FP, a comedy starring Jason Trost, Lee Valmassi, and Art Hugh. 2 rival gangs fight for control of Frazier Park, a deadly arena in competitive dance fight video game Beat Beat Revolution. The FP is rated R. And last on our list is Natural Selection, a comedy starring Rachel Harris, John Grease, and Matt O'Leary. Having discovered that her dying husband has an illegitimate child living in Florida, a devout Christian housewife leaves her sheltered world on a mission to reunite father and son. Natural Selection is rated R and opens in New York City. If the home entertainment front is more your style, you have a pretty decent selection for the week of March 13th, kicking off with The Adventures of Tintin, an animated adventure film starring Jamie Bell, Andy Serkis, and Daniel Craig. Intrepid reporter Tintin and Captain Haddock set off on a treasure hunt for a sunken ship commanded by Haddock's ancestor. The Adventures of Tintin is rated PG. Next on our list is The Descendants, a drama starring George Clooney, Shailene Woodley, and Amara Miller. A land baron tries to reconnect with his 2 daughters after his wife is seriously injured in a boating accident. The Descendants is rated R. Next up is My Week with Marilyn, a biographical drama starring Michelle Williams, Eddie Redmayne, and Kenneth Branagh. Colin Clark, an employee of Sir Laurence Olivier, documents a tense interaction between Olivier and Marilyn Monroe during production of The Prince and the Showgirl. My Week with Marilyn is rated R. Next we get Chilly with Happy Feet 2, an animated family film starring Elijah Wood, Robin Williams, and Pink. Mumble's son, Eric, is struggling to realize his talents in the Emperor Penguin world. Meanwhile, Mumble and his family and friends discover a new threat to their home, one that will take everyone working together to save them. Happy Feet 2 is rated PG. From Snow to Swords, our next film is The Three Musketeers, an action film starring Logan Lerman, Matthew McFadden, and Ray Stevenson. The hot-headed young D'Artagnan, along with 3 former legendary but now down on their luck musketeers, must unite and defeat a beautiful double agent and her villainous employer from seizing the French throne and engulfing Europe in war. The 3 Musketeers is rated PG-13. Next on our list is Melancholia, a science fiction drama film starring Kirsten Dunst, Charlotte Gainsborough, and Kiefer Sutherland. 2 sisters find their already strained relationship challenged as a mysterious new planet threatens to collide with the Earth. Melancholia is rated R. And last on our main DVD list is Young Adult, a comedic drama starring Charlize Theron, Patrick Wilson, and Patton Oswalt. Soon after her divorce, a fiction writer returns to her home in small-town Minnesota, looking to rekindle a romance with her ex-boyfriend, who is now happily married and has a newborn daughter. Young Adult is rated R. Moving right along to TV on DVD, this week is a big one if you're a fan of Time Lords in little blue boxes. The first entry is Doctor Who, The Tomb of the Cybermen, starring Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines, and Deborah Watling. Aided by his 2 assistants, Jamie and Victoria, the second Doctor lands the TARDIS on Telos, last resting place of the infamous Cybermen. There he discovers a band of archaeologists on a secret expedition to unearth the reason for his old enemy's extinction. In the underground shadowy depths, they find an icy tomb, a whole army in hibernation, a threat to no one if the temperature remains low. But if a traitor in their midst gets his way, things could really heat up. This was originally broadcast in 1967 and then lost, and this unique 4-part adventure starring Patrick Troughton as the Doctor's second incarnation was only recently discovered. It's now available for the first time on DVD, which includes an exclusive interview with the director, Morris Berry. The next entry is Doctor Who, The 3 Doctors, starring John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton, William Hartnell, and Katie Manning. Gallifrey, the home planet of the Time Lords, is under siege by an unknown force that, by all accounts, should not even exist. The only person who can help them is the 3rd Doctor, but even he will need assistance from his previous selves. The third entry this week is Doctor Who, The Face of Evil, starring Tom Baker and Louise Jameson. Doctor Who, The Face of Evil introduced one of the most unusual of the time traveler's companions, Leela, an intelligent but savage woman from the jungle planet, a fierce fighter who looks good in a skimpy leather outfit. The 4th Doctor finds himself caught between 2 tribes, one primitive and physical, the other effete and possessed of mental powers. Leela, who has been cast out of the primitive tribe for heresy, teams up with the Doctor as he discovers his face carved in stone on a mountainside and realizes that the root of the problem may be his own past actions. And the last entry from Gallifrey this week is Doctor Who, The Robots of Death, starring Tom Baker and Louise Jameson. Trapped aboard an orbiting factory ship, the 4th Doctor and his companion Leela are accused of murder and uncover the plans for a rebellion of robots. There are 6 other titles on the TV on DVD slate this week. The first is Wallace and Gromit's World of Invention, starring Peter Sallis, Ashley Jensen, and Jem Stansfield. Wallace and Gromit's World of Invention sees world-renowned inventor Wallace and his faithful sidekick turned camera dog Gromit turn their hand to presenting for the very first time, hosting a 6-part series from the basement of 62 West Wallaby Street. They take an enthusiastic look at some real-life cracking contraptions, from gadgets to help around the home to the mind-boggling world of space travel and much more in between. From their self-built television studio, Wallace introduces films of inventors from around the world and unveils some of his very own creations. Next on our list is Bag of Bones, starring Pierce Brosnan, Melissa George, and Annabeth Gish. Based on the award-winning best-selling novel by Stephen King, Bag of Bones is an unforgettable psychological thriller. 2-time Golden Globe Award nominee Pierce Brosnan stars as Mike Noonan, a novelist who suffers from writer's block after the death of his wife, Jo. A dream inspires him to return to the couple's lakeside retreat, hoping to find answers about his wife's sudden death, but he's plagued by ever-escalating nightmares and mysterious ghostly visitations from Sarah Tidwell, a blues singer whose spirit lingers in the house. As the inhabitants of Dark Score Lake haunt him, Mike comes to realize that his late wife still has something to tell him. The next title is The Killing, Season 1, starring Morel Enos and Joel Kinnaman. This crime drama series follows the police investigation of the murder of a young girl, tying together 3 interlocking stories as investigators chase a variety of leads. Next up is Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Season 3, starring Michael Hurst and Kevin Sorbo. Out of the mists of time, one warrior stands above the rest for his courage, strength, and unrelenting desire to do good. Hercules. Be there for all 22 Season 3 episodes as Kevin Sorbo picks up the sword once more as the brawny, brave hero who takes the ancient world by storm. From facing old rival Autolycus, the king of thieves, to a daring duel mission with Xena, warrior princess, Hercules and his ever-faithful companion Iolaus confront some of the fiercest and most manipulative rivals ever. Filled with sword fights, sorcery, and epic battles, This 5-disc collection is non-stop adventure and excitement ripped from the headlines of mythology. Joining Hercules this week is Xena, Warrior Princess, Season 3, starring Lucy Lawless and Renee O'Connor. She's fierce, fearless, and considered a worthy foe by gods and villains alike, but in Season 3, Xena finds herself powerless to prevent the suffering of her greatest friend and ally, Gabrielle. While Gabrielle faces the consequences of shedding innocent blood and taking pity on an evil deity, Xena must deal with trials of her own, including facing old nemesis Callisto and Ares, escaping the confines of physical and mental prisons, protecting her son, and deciding how best to deal with her companion's unexpected offspring. Throughout all 22 episodes of this 5-disc set, witness the powerful journeys of one of TV's most iconic heroines, and the onerous test of one of the greatest friendships the world has ever known. And last on our TV slate this week is Neverland, a miniseries starring Rhys Ifans, Anna Friel, and Charles Dance. Raised on the streets of turn-of-the-century London, orphaned Peter and his pals survive by their fearless wits as cunning young pickpockets. Now they've been rounded up by their mentor, Jimmy Hook, to snatch a priceless, some believe magical treasure, which transports them to another world. But as the fight to save this strange and beautiful world becomes vital, Hook, Peter, and the Ragamuffin Lost Boys considered that growing old somewhere in time could be less important than growing up, right here in their new home called Neverland. This week also brings one web series to DVD, that's The Guild, Season 5, starring Felicia Day and Jeff Lewis. For the first time, Season 5 takes the Guildies out from behind their computers and on a road trip to an epic fan convention, Mega Game-O-Ramicon. Codex tries to rally the Guildies to action when she overhears upsetting news about the game. Blades tries to make money with his Cheesy Beard's pirate alter meme ego, while Vork is starstruck by his boyhood crush, sci-fi heroine Madeline Twain, played by Erin Gray from Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. Meanwhile, Clara tries to make friends with a snooty steampunk trio, Tink hides from her past, and Zabu joins up with Halo's Master Chief. This unrated DVD includes all 12 episodes from Season 5, including special guest stars Nathan Fillion, Will Wheaton, Brent Spiner, and more, plus exclusive bonus material never before seen on the internet. Next up, we'll take a look at the Netflix streaming new releases for the week of March 11th through March 17th. On March 11th is Saved by the Bell, a television series from 1989 starring Mark Paul Gosselaar, Mario Lopez, and Dustin Diamond. Zach Morris, the cool troublemaker, A.C. Slater, the kind-hearted jock, Screech Powers, a smart and funny nerd, Kelly Kapowski, the teen dream, who is Zach Morris's obsession, Lisa Turtle, the gossiping fashion lover, and Jesse Spano, the feminist straight-A student, are the 6 students who get into various misadventures at Bayside High School. March 12th is an empty day, possibly to give you some time to catch up on Saved by the Bell, but March 13th has 2 titles. The first is My Joy, a drama from 2010 starring Victor Nemitz, Vladimir Govlin, and Alexei Vertkov. This story about a few days in the life of truck driver Georgie seems to be a never-ending nightmare, a spiral of violence and abuses of power in Ukraine. A young man goes to work, and on his way he is sucked into the everyday madness of his country, losing his health and memory in the process. My Joy is not rated. The second entry on March 13th is the series The Killing, which we discussed a few minutes ago. March 14th has one title, that's Incubus, a horror film from 2011 starring Robert Englund, William Forsythe, and Joey Fatone. Incubus tells the story of a skeleton crew working the final shift at a soon-to-be-demolished police station. The night takes a gruesome turn when the demon Incubus calmly walks into the station holding the severed head of a murdered girl. Incubus toys with the crew, allowing himself to be restrained, and begins to proudly confess to his litany of crimes, some dating back to the Middle Ages. Why? Incubus has a score to settle with the one detective that almost put him away some 13 years ago. To their dismay, the cops quickly become pawns at Incubus's brutal, crowning achievement of murder, gore, and mayhem. They ultimately realize that it's his world, they only die in it. Incubus is rated R. March 15th has 8 titles coming to the stream. The first is The Mark of Cain, a war drama from 2007 starring Gerald Kearns, Matthew McNulty, and Naomi Bentley. This movie uses detailed research and explosive new testimonies by soldiers who have served in Iraq to tell an emotional fictional story of 2 young men very much out of their depth. The Mark of Cain is rated R. The next film on the list is Mum and Dad, a horror thriller from 2008 starring Perry Benson, Dito Miles, and Olga Fedori. Mum and Dad and their adopted children, Birdie and Elvie, work at the airport. The family live off whatever they can scavenge from cargo holds, offices, and hotels, including a steady stream of transient workers who populate the airport's soulless hub. When Lena, a young Polish office cleaner, is befriended by Birdie, she is drawn into a nightmarish world of torture, murder, and perversity. Imprisoned in a suburban house of horrors and designated a mummy's girl, Lena's only options appear to be to become part of the family and join them in their insanity, or die. Mom and Dad is not rated. Next on our list is Salvage, a horror film from 2008 starring Saeed Ahmed, Dean Andrews, and Sufyan Ashraf. When a container washes ashore, the residents of a sleepy cul-de-sac are plunged into violence, terror, and paranoia. Ring-fenced by the military, a single mother must overcome all odds to save her daughter. Salvage is not rated. The next entry is for fans of Twilight, as Rob Sest, Inside the Life of Robert Pattinson, a documentary from 2009 starring Robert Pattinson and Charlotte Rether. Rob Sest is a look at how teenagers around the world have become obsessed with the young English actor Robert Pattinson, star of the vampire-themed Twilight movies. Rob Sest, Inside the Life of Robert Pattinson, is not rated. The next movie on the list is Shank, a science fiction action film from 2010 starring Keita William Sterling, Adam Deacon, and Ashley Bashy Thomas. Shank is an action film for the youth generation set in a decaying future London. It's about a gang set out on the chase to avenge the murder of one of their own. Shank is not rated. The next title is Bonded by Blood, a crime drama from 2010 starring Tamer Hassan, Michael Soka, and Adam Deacon. In 1995, drug suppliers and career criminals Tony Tucker, Patrick Tate, and Craig Rolfe were blasted to death by a shotgun while waiting in a Range Rover in Reddenton, Essex. The film charts their rise to become the most prolific dealers and feared criminals in the south of England, maintaining the hold on their empire with fear and violence until their untimely death. Bonded by Blood is not rated. Next up is Anuvahood, a comedy from 2011 starring Adam Deacon, Femi Oyeniran, and Ali Baberi. Kenneth, who likes to call himself K, begins to realize he's just another wannabe bad boy. Even less than a loser, in fact. After quitting his job at Lamesbury's, K vows to become a respected gangster, or cry trying. Anuvahood is not rated. And March 15th last title is Tony, a horror thriller from 2010 starring Peter Ferdinando, Frank Boyce, and Lorenzo Camparisi. Tony is a thriller centered on a serial killer in a run-down London suburb. Tony is not rated. March 16th lightens the mood with one title, that's The Tale of Despero, an animated adventure film from 2008 starring Matthew Broderick, Emma Watson, and Dustin Hoffman. The tale of three unlikely heroes, a misfit mouse who prefers reading books to eating them, an unhappy rat who schemes to leave the darkness of the dungeon, and a bubbling servant girl with cauliflower ears, whose fates are intertwined with that of a castle princess. The Tale of Despero is rated G. And wrapping up the Netflix queue, on March 17th we have The Mysteries of Lisbon, a mystery drama film from 2010 starring Adriana Luz, Maria Hayo Bastos, and Ricardo Pereira. The Mysteries of Lisbon follows a jealous countess, a wealthy businessman, and a young orphaned boy across Portugal, France, Italy, and Brazil, where they connect with a variety of mysterious individuals. The Mysteries of Lisbon is not rated. Next we take a look at the Blu-rays from the past, and this week's selection has 3 films all waiting on a forthcoming sequel. The first is American Pie, a comedy starring Jason Biggs, Chris Klein, and Thomas Ian Nicholas. 4 teenage boys enter a pact to lose their virginity by prom night. American Pie is rated R. The second film is American Pie 2, a comedy starring Jason Biggs, Sean William Scott, and Shannon Elizabeth. American Pie 2 is the continuing body adventures of a group of friends reuniting after their first year of college. American Pie 2 is rated R. And last on the list is American Wedding, a comedy starring Jason Biggs, Allison Hannigan, and Sean William Scott. This is the third film in the American Pie series that deals with the wedding of Jim and Michelle and the gathering of their families and friends, including Jim's old friends from high school and Michelle's little sister. American Wedding is rated R. And now we wrap this up with one item in the Quick Flicks. If you want to start your summer early, or maybe just come down with a Marvel flu for a day, Thursday, May 3rd might be the day to do it. That's the day AMC Theaters is running the Ultimate Marvel Marathon. For $40, you get to see Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor in 3D, and Captain America in 3D, followed by a midnight screening of The Avengers in 3D. AMC's website, which will be linked in the show notes, is the place to start checking on March 16th for a participating theater near you. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, please take a moment to get in touch. You can surf on over to chronicriff.com and leave a note in the forums. You can leave a voicemail at 888-866-9010, or you can write to John at chronicriff.com. You can follow us on Tumblr, tweet us on Twitter, check it in the network on GetGlue, watch the classics on Funny or Die, catch us on Stitcher Radio, and leave us a review on iTunes. You can also find the weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook and Google+. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make through the store supports the Chronic Grift. Look for the link in our show notes. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. This is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the theater.